Well, Andy Murray's U.S. Open is it's over. The 2020 U.S. Open has ended for Sir Andy Murray. And, it was a nice little run. Getting the 5-set win was very exciting. But I think John McEnroe put it best when he said, if Andy Murray is working towards, if his doctors say that he's going to make progress, he's going to move better as he works his way back into fitness with the new the hip and everything. If he's working towards a period 6 months from now where he's going to move better, he's going to recover better, then this is a good experience. This is good progress for Andy Murray. But if this is as good as it gets, if he's going to be moving like this, 80%, as McEnroe said, of what he used to be for the rest of his career or worse, then he might not want to continue playing. So that's the takeaway, the big takeaway for me tonight. Although, let's give some credit to Felix Auger. And they had a nice little story about Felix Auger, the commentators. They kept saying, 8 years ago, in 2012, which, by the way, in the little interview after the match, he said it was 2011, 9 years ago. But let's go with what the commentators say. 8 years ago, Felix Auger was there watching Andy Murray at Arthur Ashe on that big tennis stadium, admiring the tennis game of Andy Murray. And who could have imagined that now he's here 8 years later, beating Andy Murray on that very same court, the biggest dedicated tennis court in the world, Arthur Ashe Stadium. So I thought that was a nice, optimistic message to everyone out there. If you work hard, who knows, 8 years from now, you could be doing something amazing. Well, if you're young. When you get to be me and Andy Murray's age, 8 years down the road, you really you don't look forward to things the same way. You got to look forward to different types of things, like having your first colonoscopy. Welcome to the Coffee Break Tennis Podcast. No, I'm not back in Florida magically. It's just a late finish with the U.S. Open tonight. So we're just going to do a short and sweet podcast. And tomorrow we've got Djokovic, Jan Leonard Struff on the night match at Arthur Ashe. First up, 7 p.m. So we'll do a video tomorrow, and we will definitely be posting a lot earlier. Unless we get a 5-set epic for Djokovic and Jan Leonard Struff. Then it could be a late night, I guess. But who thinks that's going to happen? So we've got our third rounds totally set, except for Dirty Dan Evans and Christian Moutet. Felix Auger is going to, by the way, you can do a lot of great, and I think me and Andy Murray, actually, I think we're more like 18 years away from colonoscopy, so that's good news for me and Andy Murray. Andy Murray, someone tell him that. It might brighten up his night. It's got to be rough on Andy Murray to not... He had no breakpoint chances against Felix Auger. So that's got to be a little rough for Andy Murray to not perform at the level. Even if he knew he was going to lose that match going into it, he would have liked to make it more competitive than that. But Felix did serve outstanding, and his forehand is really something special to see. It's not like Andy Murray just gave it to him. Felix was pretty awesome, really never let Andy have any reason to think he could somehow put it together again and come back. You knew when Andy was down 2 sets that this was going to be a little bit different. So let's go through this bottom half of the draw now, because I gotta tell you something big. Well, first off, Milos Raonic is out, so and I thought I was one of the few crazy people saying that he's kind of like a favorite for the tournament. I said, he's someone who could win the tournament with it playing faster and with his weapons, forehand and the serve. And when he lost, I was a little surprised to hear the commentators saying one of the favorites to win this U.S. Open is out. I heard another commentator say, he's going to leave here thinking this really could have been his year. This could have been his chance. So I guess it's nice to hear some of the tennis ESPN commentators out there agreeing with what I said. But it looks like we all got it wrong, because Raonic is out. A little bit tough, kind of like Stevie Johnson and John Isner. I remember, I think it was Marty Fish. It was one of those guys back then, James Blake, Andy Roddick, Marty Fish, when, American players were doing a little bit more. Big John Isner's still out there representing and having some nice results, but you know what I mean. And I remember, I think it was Marty Fish, they were saying, hey, what's it like to play Andy Roddick? And he said, it's great playing Roddick. And this might have been a quarterfinal at a major. he said, it's great because it takes a lot of pressure off of you because you know this guy. You know their games inside and out because you've been practicing with these guys, your fellow top American players that you're pretty much, about the same age as. You've been practicing with these guys so much over the years. You're friends with them. So there's not quite as much pressure. And I think that's what we saw. Same group, Raonic, the Popsicle. They're from the same class of tennis in Tennis Canada. They were the first guys to actually be part of this promising wave of tennis talent coming out of Canada. So I think we saw a little bit of what we saw Stevie Johnson, able to take advantage of that comfort level with John Isner and really produce a master class. Another thing, I've heard the commentators saying, we're talking about how fast these courts are. Why is every big server out in the first round? Well, one thing, your big serve, John Isner, it's going to be effective on every surface. It's going to help you hold serve. It doesn't matter how fast or slow the court is. The big serve is going to be very helpful. The problem is on a faster court, if you're John Isner, if you're Milos Raonic, if you're, whoever, it's going to be harder to break serve. So if you're playing someone with a great serve or just they're having a great serving day, it's that much harder for you to break their serve. So it really goes, these fast courts, a lot of times they can favor upsets because they favor the bold, the people who really play aggressive and believe in themselves on that day. So anyways, thought I would talk about that a little bit. This is interesting. Let's put this up really quick because Raonic is out. And I thought this was interesting. Take a listen to what they were saying about these courts. Raonic lost on Louis Armstrong today, which is slower than the outside courts. About 10% is what they're saying. And then they're saying Arthur Ashe is even a little slower, maybe 15%. Overall, the courts on average are about 30% faster than the U.S. Open has been for like the last 10 years. So even if it's, 10% slower on the big courts, it's still faster than what it's been. But take a look. This just goes to show you how it changes the ball. This is pretty interesting stuff.
Here's Milos to serve, James. On court 17, it was a straight set win versus today, which are the yellow balls.
Miles per hour, it's slowing down a lot more. And a lot of the players have talked about these stadium courts, this Louis Armstrong Stadium and Ashe, are slower than the outer courts.
Describe what a difference that makes to a player when that's the amount of speed difference.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like much, but that's huge because there's some players that have sort of a threshold where if you can handle a server that's serving 130, say, once that cranks up just that little bit more, 10% up to 140, that's huge difference.
So court 17 is playing about 10% faster. And they're saying how also, so they're saying that this was giving Popsicle some more looks at the Raonic serve. And James Blake was saying how, if someone's hitting 130 mile an hour serve, make it 10% faster, and it's going to be a lot harder to deal with just from the court speed alone. So losing a little sting on that probably helped Popsicle, the comfort level they had. And I forgot to mention in the last show, when I was driving home from Florida, I had to listen to U.S. Open tennis radio to catch the Djokovic-Kyle Edmund match. And one thing I heard them saying after Djokovic had dropped the first set, and I think he was maybe struggling a little. It was still kind of close in the second set at this point. This is before it seemed obvious that Kyle Edmund was toast completely, had no chance at that point. And they're saying it looked like Djokovic was struggling a little bit with how much slower the court was, saying that he had been practicing, maybe they said court 17, that I guess that's the fastest court. But wherever, he wasn't practicing on Ashe, and they're saying how Djokovic was getting ahead of the ball. Like he was swinging too early because the ball's all of a sudden 10% slower from where he had been practicing most recently. So I thought that was pretty interesting stuff. But as we go further, all these courts will speed up, including Ashe, and of course they will play less on the other courts. And when we get into quarterfinals, semifinals, we're going to see people playing on the big courts, and the outer courts won't even be a factor anymore. Let's take a look at the draw. Pop this one up on the screen. I like Felix to come through Evans or Moutet, and then I think it was Brad Gilbert saying today that for Dominic Thiem, put this on the screen really quick. This is Brett the Saber Haber had an issue with Ben Rothenberglers. And Ben Rothenberg, I don't know. I have a story that I've thought about sharing. I shouldn't even say anything about it. I'm not going to do this story right now. Let's just say this. I am simpatico with Brett the Saber Haber and what he's saying here. Or was it him? And it might have been a comment below. Someone said, come on, Ben Roethlisberger, he can't even play 3-0 tennis, which is like, beginner tennis. 3-0 tennis players are not known for being very good. It's not quite the bottom. 2.5, I think, is the bottom rating. But 3-0 is, you kind of suck, for lack of a better word. So they're saying, how dare he criticize Dominic Thiem? And I thought it was actually a fair criticism. He's saying, look, Dominic Thiem is standing way back to take Nagal, not Nadal, Nagal's serve. And Nagal hit an 88-mile-an-hour serve, and Dominic Thiem is hitting it from the fence. It does seem silly. I think it was a fair criticism. You don't have to be an expert tennis player to point that out. And Brett the Saber Haber's point was, well, Dominic Thiem's winning. But really, they're both kind of wrong because that's not how you want to look at these early round matches. Dominic Thiem is playing Marin Cilic next, who is not going to hit 88-mile-an-hour serves. And Brad Gilbert said it. That's what got me started on this tangent. I totally forgot to credit Brad Gilbert. Did I? I don't know. Forget it. I'll tell you what he said now. Brad Gilbert said the tournament really starts for Dominic Thiem now with Cilic. It wasn't real before that, right? Jaume Munar, Sumit Nagal. These are guys. Try returning from the fence. Try the saber while you're at it, because if you're Dominic Thiem, you're beating these guys no matter what. You see this with the big three. You really see it with Federer a lot. He'll try when he's up a set or a couple sets in one of these early rounds, playing someone like a Sumit Nagal, if everything's going well for him, you'll see him start doing some stuff like saber or, a lot of serve and volley. Just try to mix things up and do, practice a few strategies that you might use when you play Djokovic later in the tournament, So Dominic Thiem, maybe he's just trying to hit some returns from the fence because he knows he's going to be doing that against the big, giant Marin Cilic serve. It's not really about Nagal. So neither one of them have a great point. But I thought it was interesting. I'd put it up there. You should be allowed to have an opinion on tennis if you've never played, but I don't think, other than the former pro commentators, a lot of these broadcasters, I don't think many of them are going to be much better than a 3-0 anyway. So let's go back to the draw. Things get real now for Dominic Thiem when he plays Marin Cilic. I would love to see Felix Auger somehow come through here. I don't know if he's quite ready there, but the way he served against Andy Murray, I don't care how Andy Murray's moving, the serving was much better, and that's a good sign for him. He might be able to do something if he can keep serving great here. Let's look elsewhere. Berrettini is another one I got to alert you to. Berrettini was extremely impressive, and he was on court 17. Take a look at what he did. This is outstanding.
Oh! You see Berrettini out wide, goes with the lob to the backhand. He reads it perfectly, and look how far he goes. And he did not have much room to put it through, and you just have to clap.
Next up, he'll play Casper Ruud, boy. Casper Ruud, he should have come through. And it was straight sets with a retirement. Berrettini against Ugo Humbert is a little more impressive to me. Things really seem to come together. It's the first time I've seen Berrettini play well this year, really, play that well. Ugo Humbert is a good player. He didn't have the greatest day, but the third set was very competitive. And Berrettini, man, I was very impressed. I thought Berrettini must not have had a very good preparation, not able to practice much, during coronavirus, because I haven't seen him look good in a long time. He looks really good. He might have turned it around. He could come through this part of the draw now. I was counting him out. I'm now counting him in. Things have changed. Medvedev looks great. This is where you're supposed to see Medvedev and Dominic Thiem. Medvedev, Dominic Thiem, or Medvedev, Raonic, as I was thinking. Maybe Roberto Bautista Agut. So this bottom half of the draw is definitely more interesting, but there's really only one person on here that anyone is going to give a serious chance. I guess Dominic Thiem as well. Dominic Thiem and Medvedev, they're only people in this half of the draw that people are going to say actually could go to the final and beat Djokovic. So if they somehow don't come through, then people will start saying, like, it doesn't really even matter who's going to go to the final. Djokovic, once he beats Zverev or Tsitsipas, whoever can face him here in the top half, it's over. If somebody makes it through who's not Dominic Thiem, or maybe like a Felix Auger gets extremely hot and keeps winning. But if you see Pospisil in the final, if you see the Wolf, well, I don't think that's going to happen either way. But if you see Berrettini there, like, come on, you're not going to have any faith in that to work out against Djokovic. All right, so tomorrow, Djokovic is the night match, first on 7 p.m. night match on Arthur Ashe against Jan-Lennard Struff. I think the temperature is pretty warm tomorrow. I haven't checked today. I checked yesterday. If it's hotter and lower humidity, that gives Struff a better chance. But I'm not expecting him to do. I think Struff has a shot to win a set. Unless Djokovic plays anywhere near his best, then he will definitely win in straight sets. Shapovalov, that's probably about, I think they're, not before 1:30 p.m. on Arthur Ashe day session tomorrow. That'll be fun to watch Shapovalov and Taylor Fritz. They both can play some offense. And I hope Shapovalov comes through here. I'd like to see him take a crack at Djokovic in the quarterfinals and just go for it. He's fun to watch. It's also really disappointing when you see the guy just completely melt down and fall apart. Tsitsipas, Borna Coric, could be a tough match for Tsitsipas. This could be a test. Borna Coric, got to feel like, this is a guy that we thought was going to be a favorite in the future, and he's had some struggles. Now Tsitsipas is a new favorite of the future. So it'll be interesting to see them. Coric will probably feel like he doesn't have too much to lose. You might see him give Tsitsipas a pretty tough match. Mannarino, I'm telling you, he's always a good test to see where you're at. Sometimes it might be nice to play Mannarino if you're, one of the big three and you want to hit a lot of balls and find some rhythm and, work your way through some rallies and some points. Sometimes, that can be a good thing. But for Zverev, I don't know. I don't think Zverev, it might be very difficult for him. He's going to have to play a lot of points. Like I was saying on the last show, maybe he plays a great point, but then misses a put away, and then he has to serve again, and then he might double fault. Who was it? Somebody had a ton of... Milos Raonic. Milos Raonic, a big part of why he went down today is he got into double-digit double faults. So, yeah, anytime you're... It doesn't matter how great you're playing. If you start throwing in a ton of double faults, you might fall. You might not make it any further. So, Sasha Zverev, he has his work cut out tomorrow. I hope for him that he is able to come through Mannarino and play well here. But if he hasn't found it on the second serve, that might be a little bit of trouble. All right, that's enough of the draws. I just wanted to look at one comment I thought was interesting here. It's from Pablo Silva. He said, this is the guy that played Tsitsipas, who I'm kind of intrigued by because, one, he hits 2 first serves. He's literally averaging a 130 and 129 in his first and second. And he comes to the net, serves and volleys every single point. Maxime Cressy. Pablo says, I saw him narrowly lose the final of the Calgary Challenger event in February 2020. This guy's a very different player. Serve and volley, chip and charge return. Made players very uncomfortable. He may have gotten further with a more accessible draw. Tsitsipas has the tools to play like him, like Maxime. Which, Tsitsipas was starting to go to net more when he looked frustrated that the guy was doing so well with it against him. He's like, well, I'm going to go to net then, so you can't. So one reason why I read that comment, both Darren Cahill and I think it was Brad Gilbert, the other one, say that this guy's got top 30 potential written all over him. So pretty interesting guy I'd never heard of. Comes out of nowhere. Some people have seen him in challengers earlier this year. In one match, just see him a little bit, and two of the longest serving ESPN commentators, former professional tennis players, immediately say this guy looks like he could be top 30 in no time. So hit the music. We're getting out of here. Hope you enjoyed the little short podcast we did tonight. We will be back tomorrow. I'll try to get a show up very quickly after the Djokovic match. Hopefully it's not a 5-set epic. I don't know, some of the Joker haters out there, they're probably hoping for that indeed. Hoping for 5 sets where Djokovic loses at the end. All right, see ya.